So the reason that we're doing this is on your project, you're going to need to be able to multiply fractions. Multiply mixed numbers, that kind of thing. Also, if you're taking the PERT in the next few weeks, you'll need to be able to do this as well. So just good review all the way around. We're going to write our answers as a reduced fraction and a decimal. And then where it applies on the last two, we're actually going to also do a mixed number. Okay, so I will show you the two ways to multiply a fraction. Both are correct. You can just multiply straight across. 4 times 7 is 28. And then 9 times 4 is 36. You do want to reduce. What are 28 and 36 both divisible by? 4. Okay, so 28 divided by 4 is 7. 36 divided by 4 is 9. As a decimal, let's go ahead and round to the nearest hundredth. How many places does a hundredth have? 2. 2 places. 7. Isn't it repeating? So 7, 8. Okay, so this is the method that will get you the correct answer every single time. If you like it, you can cross-cancel. Cross-canceling says you look across the little multiplication sign. You look at 9 and 7. Do 9 and 7 have a number they're both divisible by? No. 4 and 4, do they have a number they're both divisible by? They're both divisible by 4. So you could have, divided 4 divided by 4 is 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And then you would still multiply straight across. 1 times 7 is 7. And then 9 times 1 is 9. You get the same answer. So if you like cross-canceling, feel free to. If you do not like cross-canceling, just multiply straight across and then reduce. Either way, you're reducing just at different times. We can practice cross-canceling in the second one. Let's start with the 7s because it's simple. What are 7 and 7 both divisible by? 7. 7 goes into 7. Once 7 goes into 7. Once. The other direction, you've got an 8 and a 10. What are they both divisible by? 2. Yeah. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 10 5. Then multiply straight across. 4 times 1 is 4. And 1 times 5 is 5. As a decimal, this is 0.8. Correct. So that's just a warm-up. What you'll really see, you're going to be given a scale factor, and you're going to have to multiply a mixed number by possibly a whole number, possibly by just another fraction. What do I need to do to my mixed number before I multiply? Turn it into an improper fraction. So you would do 4 times 1, which is 4, and then plus 1, which is 5. And then what would the denominator be? 4. Same denominator. So you always keep the denominator the same. And then times 9. What do I do to multiply a fraction by a whole number? Put it over 1. And then do the same thing. You can see if you can cross-cancel. The only thing you have is 4 and 9. Is there a number both 4 and 9 are divisible by? No. And 5 and 1, no. So multiply straight across. You get 45. And then 4 times 1 is 4. What is this as a decimal? Oops. 11.25. So we're also going to practice putting it as a mixed number. This one is called improper. It's improper because the top is bigger than the bottom. Obviously, that's a decimal. A mixed number is where you have a whole number and a fraction. So obviously, this one is easy. You can see it's 0.25. So what is this as a mixed number? 11 and what? Not over. Guys, what is 0.25 as a fraction? 1/4. Thank you. Here's the way you do it mathematically. There are 2 options that you can do. What decimal place is 25 in? Is it the tens, the hundreds, the thousands? It's the hundredths. So this is 25 out of 100. This reduces down to 1/4. Okay, so you could do that. Take the decimal, okay, put it over 100. Option 2, you can take the fraction, divide the denominator into the numerator. Go ahead and write this down because there won't be as easy of ones to do. So we're dividing 4 into 45. So you want to start with the first number. Does 4 go evenly into 4? It does. How many times? Once. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract it, we get, 0. Then what do I do? Yeah, bring down the 5. How many times does 4 go into 5? Once. Oops. Once. 1 times 4 is 4. And then we have 1 left over. We don't want a decimal answer, so we're not going to put a 0.0 and bring down a 0. That's not what we're going to do. This is even easier. You take what remains, and you put it over the divisor. That's it. So we had a 1 left out of 4. Either way you do it, both are acceptable. What is it? All right, so we're going to do this one. It's just a little bit harder, but it's the same idea. We are going to end up getting an improper fraction, so we will also find the mixed number. Okay, 11 1/4. We'll do that over here. So what is, let's do 2 1/5 first. So 2 times 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11 over 5. Okay, and then times 4 times 1 is plus 3 is 7 over 4. You can see if you can cross cancel. 5 and 7 are both prime. 3 and 4, they've got nothing. So we're going to multiply straight across. 11 times 7 is 77. 5 times 4 is 20. We will also make it into a decimal. What is this as a decimal? 3.85. So again, your option 1 is, again, what decimal place is this in? The second is the 100th place. So you would put 85 over 100, and you can reduce. Okay, reduce down. They're both divisible by at least 5. What is 85 divided by 5?
17.
Correct. And then 100 divided by 5 is 20. Okay, option 2, again, you could take 77 over 20, divide it into 77. Some people prefer one over the other, and both are fine. How many times does 20 go in? So it doesn't go into 7, it goes into 77. How many times does 20 go into 77? 3. 3 times 20 is 60. Subtract. What's 77 minus 60? 17. So that means you have 17 out of 20 remaining. We got the same answer. Both are fine. So we practice that because you're going to have to use it in a second. You're going to take out a highlighter and then the project instructions. So the first thing you want to highlight on your project instructions. What you need to know is this is an in-class project only. If you look at the board, that's all we're doing for the next week and a half. It is due March 5th, which is the half day before spring break. Go ahead and highlight it at the top that it is due March 5th. If you are planning on not being here on March 5th, you need to make sure you come before and have it completed before spring break. I'm grading them over spring break, okay? So, Tran, we've highlighted March 5th, okay? So, you're going to be using a pencil. Hopefully you have an eraser to go with it. And then a ruler I have. You'll even be using scissors today, which I also have. We'll go through it. I have examples up here on my board. If you can't see them while I'm going through them, through the instructions, then you can just always come up here afterwards, and I can kind of explain what each of them mean. So, first thing we're going to talk about, the objective. We're going to take a small picture, which you see them spread out on my desk, and enlarge it using a scale factor that I will give you, so that the two pictures are accurate scale drawings of each other. Every part of these pictures should be proportionate in size and shape. Proportional scaling is when both the width and the length of an object are reduced or enlarged according to the same ratio. So I'm going to show you some projects, and I will tell you why they worked and why they didn't work. This is not a test of your drawing skills at all. It is a test of can you follow directions, Is it proportionate? Okay, so I will show you. We'll start with this one. This one's probably a C, maybe even a D, I'm not sure. The drawing isn't terrible. It's not the drawing. The problem is it was supposed to look like this, and it looks like this. So what differences do we notice in this picture compared to this one?
He's not all the way.
Yeah, Pooh Bear, he's not proportionate to the amount of space that there is, right? There's a lot of blank space, and there's not a ton of blank space here,
Too much fur.
right? There's not enough of Piglet. He's just, okay? There's a ton of space up here above Pooh, but there's not that much space between his ear and, you see? And actually, if you went and counted it, the amount of boxes, the length and the width of the comic are not the same as the length and the width of the project. So those things added together would make for a poor grade. It's not the drawing skills, because to me this isn't bad at all. Like, I mean, it's not the drawing. It's the proportions of it. Then there's this one. I'm just showing you different types. It's not bad at all. I think it looks nice. I think the drawing is great. It is a couple things that are missing. You're trying to replicate this picture. So one thing I automatically noticed was in this picture there's a table. There's not a table down here. Otherwise, there's not a ton to complain about. What I do when I grade this is I look and I say, all right, there's the plate and part of the cake in the bottom right corner. So I would go to this box, and it would have the plate and part of the cake in the bottom right corner. And I would go to the next one and see the cake takes up, 6 boxes. Does the cake take up 6 boxes? And that kind of thing. Okay, so just to see if it's proportionate to what it's supposed to be. Okay? So, you'd have to just go each step by step. I listed all of them. Right next to the list, there's 10 steps that you're going to do. 11, I think, actually. You're going to write the due date next to it. Okay, these due dates are not super hard and written down in stone, but here's what you need to understand. You're only working on this in class, and you want the main portion of your time spent on transferring from the comic to your grid. So what we're doing in the next few days, if you see, we've got 3 steps to do today, 3 steps to do tomorrow, 1 step to do Monday, and then 2 steps for the next 2 days. So you'll see that these next 2 days are when you're doing the most setting up your project. And then after them, you're just transferring things over. Okay? So let's talk about this first. Step 1, you're going to put today's date because it's due today. You need to choose a comic, 2/25. Go ahead and write down today's date. Okay? I have Garfield, which are over there. I have a dinosaur. I have a cat and a dog scenario here. And then I've got Snoopy. Okay, you could pick one. I'll show you examples of them at the end. But you're going to choose a comic no matter what. Then you're going to cut it out today as well. I have scissors. Okay, you're going to cut it out, and you need to write this in to put your name and class hour on the back. Okay, so here's what I mean by cut it out. Some of them look like this, where there's 3 of them. You're not doing all 3. You pick one. Pick one square. You cut it out, but you also need to cut it out in more specific. So this one is already one comic. You're going to cut where the border is. Okay? And so it is just the comic you're looking at and no white outside of the comic. Okay? So that is step 2. Both of those you will absolutely have to have finished by the end of today. Step 3. You want to be finished with this by the end of today. Some of my kids didn't, and some of them did. This will probably be where some of you will differ, and that's fine. Go ahead and correct this. It should say 1/2 inch before I read it. It's step 3. It says 1 centimeter. It should say 1/2 inch. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. And again, you want it done today. We're going to draw a grid. Okay, so you're going to start with a blank comic. Okay, if you can see it, here's a blank comic. All of these are blank. If you look at these examples, you're going to end with a big grid, and you're going to start with a small grid. Does everyone see it? What you want to be doing today is have this grid on this piece of paper done. Okay? So what's going to happen, how you do that, you're going to draw a 1/2 inch tick mark all the way around. So you're going to take a ruler, and you'll line it up with the edge of the paper, and at every 1/2 inch, you're going to put a dash. Another 1/2 inch, put a dash. Here's what that means, because some people don't know what 1/2 inch is. It means every single 1/2 inch. That does not mean at 1.5 and 2.5 and 3.5, because that's not every 1/2 inch. Let's start with a half. What is a 1/2 inch after a half? 1 inch. So at a 1/2 inch, you're going to put a dash. At 1 inch, you'll put a dash. What's in 1/2 inch after 1? 1.5. You're going to put a dash there as well. And then keep going. You go next to 2, and then 2.5, and then 3. You keep going until you run out of edge. Okay? So I will show you on this. There is a correct way to do it where your boxes will be perfectly lined up and level, which is what you want. Okay? And then there's a wrong way to do this. It's hard to see from far away, but the lines end up crooked if you do it incorrectly. So I'm going to show you how to do it correctly. You're going to take your ruler, and which direction do we want to measure? You want to measure up? Okay. So I'm going to use this as my edge. Okay, I know it's like a thick border, but we're just going to use that. I'm going to do 1 inch on here because a 1/2 inch would be super teeny tiny, and you wouldn't be able to see it very well. So I'm going to use an inch. Let's see. So I got an inch here, an inch here, an inch here, and then there's extra, right? That's not an inch, but it's extra. I started up here. I have excess. I have extra, right? I have excess down here. To have these lines level, the other side has to match exactly, which means I have to start up here so that I have excess down here. That makes sense? So a lot of students make the mistake of turning their ruler, and I'll show you what it looks like when you make this mistake. If you turn your ruler, so I started up here. I should start up here, but I'm not. What happens is, now I have extra here, and when I go to line up my ruler, all of these are crooked now. Everyone see it? So now my lines aren't straight because they don't match on the sides. So whatever direction you measure, if I go top to bottom over here, I need to go top to bottom over here. If I go left, because it's the same thing up and down. If I go left to right down here, I need to go left to right over here. So that the extra part, okay, is in the same spot, so it'd be level. Okay? I'm sure a lot of you got that because you're all staring at me. So here we are. You're going to have me check off that it is correct. At this point, you will stop, and you will show me, and I will sign off that it is correct. Or I will tell you, no, they're crooked. We need to fix something. Okay? At this point, you would cut off any extra that you have. You would have already drawn the grid. You would connected the lines. So here, I'll show you what that looks like. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Probably not. Okay, I'll just show you mine. Oh, that's right. So here is where I started. I put tick marks all the way around. Again, if you want to come up here and look at it in a bit, you can. Then I connected all the dots. Now there's a bunch of lines. Okay? This wasn't a full box, and there's nothing over here. So I made the executive decision to cut it off. You cannot make the executive decision. You need to ask me what should happen. Okay? So if you have excess, ask. Aramis, open your eyes. I will tell you what part to cut off if you have any to cut off. So everyone can see there's a size difference, correct? But I have a perfect, all of them are perfect 1/2 inch squares. Okay? So from here, I've cut it out. I've got my grid. Okay? What I'm going to do is step 4. You'll start this tomorrow. Go ahead and write in tomorrow's date. So 26th. And then go ahead and correct that this should be in inches. In previous years, we did this in centimeters. So go ahead and fix that. It should be done in inches. You're going to write the dimensions of your grid on the back of your comic. So you're going to write 2 things. The dimensions in boxes. So if you had 3 boxes by 5 boxes, because you've already drawn a grid by now, you would put 3 by 5 boxes. Okay? Mine, like my example, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes. So that's what I would write on the back. You are also, you're going to write this in because it's not on your paper. You're also going to write the dimensions in inches. So go ahead and write, you're going to write that it's in inches as well. So you're going to write 2 things on the back. I forgot that I was recording. Okay? So, at this point, we picked up a bigger piece of paper yet? No, we're still working with our graph, our comic. Okay, we're still working with a small piece of paper. You're going to be assigned a scale factor. The scale factor is what you're going to multiply by 1/2 an inch. We put a tick mark every 1/2 an inch. You're going to multiply by your scale factor to figure out how often to put a tick mark on your bigger piece of paper. So I show you how that works. My scale factor was 1.5. So I took 1/2, which is my grid, right, 1/2 inch, and I multiplied it times 1.5. Okay, so whenever you multiply a fraction by a mixed number, what do I have to do to this mixed number? Turn it to an improper fraction. What is 1.5 as an improper fraction? 3/2. And 1 times 3 is 2 times 2 is 4, which is where we got my new scale would be 3/4. I would put a tick mark at every 3/4 on my bigger picture. This is going to make my boxes bigger, and it's going to make what I transfer over larger as well. Okay? I will assign you the scale factor. It is not 1.5. I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay? So that is something you'll want to have done tomorrow. Okay? So go ahead and write that down. It is tomorrow. You'll figure out the dimensions tomorrow. All of it goes on your reflection paper. So go ahead and write in that. Do this math on your reflection paper. So right under it. Do this math on your reflection paper. This would be a pausing point, and you would ask me to check it for you before you start picking up a computer paper. If your math is wrong and then you go to, draw on your computer paper, you're going to waste your time. Okay, so have me check it. I literally sign off in this box if it's correct, and then you move on. Okay? At this point, step 7, now you get a piece of computer paper. Okay? And what you're going to do, you will do this starting Monday, hopefully. This is the projection. Have it done Monday. Go ahead and write 3/1. That's Monday. March 1st. Welcome to March. You're going to make a new grid using your scale factor. Okay? My new scale factor, or my new tick mark, I used my scale factor, and I'm going to put a tick mark at every 3/4 of an inch to make 3/4 of an inch boxes. So 3/4 of an inch, put a tick mark. 3/4 of an inch, tick mark. 3/4 of an inch, all the way around. I make a new grid, and it would look like this. Eyes, come on. It would look like this. Okay? Once I have connected all of it, right? I only needed a certain amount of boxes, right? So what you would do is you would look at your comic. I said my comic was 5 by 6, correct? So I would cut out a 5 by 6 area. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The rest of it, I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need 1 or 2 of these rows. I don't remember. And it would end up, where is it? It would end up 5 by 6 boxes like it should be. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So you would want me to check your grid before you start drawing as well. Okay, so let me check your grid. I would check that your lines are straight. I would check all that stuff. From there, you draw box by box. Yes, sir.
Does that paper represent a poster board, or would we do that?
We're not doing a poster this year. We were going to use your grid poster. But if you look, which one is this? Your posters only have the glossy side. And if you've ever used a poster with a glossy side, you can erase on it, but it's going to leave the marks anyways. That makes sense? So all of these are like matted sides. So if they had a matted side, we would use your poster, but we don't. So we're just going to use computer paper. Also, it's less the color, so you'll be thankful. So that was a good question, though. In past years, it had been a poster. But this year, I think with what was available when we bought those boards, they're just glossy, and it just would be frustrating. All right, so now you start drawing box by box. And when I say box by box, I mean box by box. When I started drawing mine, okay, I started in the bottom corner. I started down here, and I saw there's grass, and it starts about halfway through the box. So I went a little bit by a little bit. I saw the direction that the grass went. I saw if it was arched or if it was like pointier or whatever. And I did this box, and then I moved into this one, and then I did part of his foot, so I wanted to do the top of his foot, and then I started doing his tail. So you start in like one corner, and then you just keep moving, okay? I know some people are perfectionists, but you are staring at one tiny detail, one box out of however many boxes. So if you don't like the way something looks and you can't get it to look the way you want it, I would do all the boxes surrounding it and then see how it looks. Like take a step back and see how it looks after that. Because some people get so focused, like when I was drawing this grass, it did not look like it looked like grass. But when you've got all of it in context, you can see it's just grass, okay? So this you'll want to be doing on Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday and Wednesday, okay? You could write this in, Put your name and class hour on the back of your grid. You want your name and class hour on the back of your comic and on the back of your, final picture. But you'll want to be working on this Tuesday and you'll want to be done with it Wednesday. If you're working on it sooner, that's great. But what you want to be doing is taking most of the time to draw box by box. Coloring, like I said, it's only computer paper and it's much smaller, so it doesn't take as long. You need to color the picture completely. The only spaces that are blank are things that are normally white, like teeth or eye whites, and then use non-abstract colors. Example of what non-abstract color means. People and animals do not have green skin or fur, so don't do that. The sky is not green. Grass is green. But you can have creative liberty on other things. So I know Garfield is one of the options. You don't have to color him orange. You can color him whatever color a cat is. You just can't color him purple. Okay? Let's see. The thing that we're changing, you see how it says the only blank spaces are things that are normally white? Like, you can't have a blank sky. You gotta color the sky. So it can be blue. It could be a sunset if you want, because that would be something normal. Some things that you can be creative on. I know in the Garfield comics, this guy's a white dude. I don't care what skin color he has. You can choose. His shirt could be whatever color you want it to be. This is a cake. It's frosting. It could be whatever color you want it to be. So you have creative liberty within reason. People don't have red eyes and, you get it. We don't want a weird picture. We don't want aliens in here. We just, normal people. They're cats. And there are dinosaurs, which is, the color of their origin is up for question, but, and then a Snoopy. So, within reason. Okay? And then you can kind of see an example of what box by box means. This is Wilma Wilma Flintstone. Sorry. And you can see part of her bow and her other bow. If it were me, I'd move over to do some of her hair and then do the rest of her hair and then, So that's how you're doing box by box. Okay? The reflection. So you can go and flip. This is the last thing that you do. You want to be doing this on Thursday, the 4th. You want to edit this. This shouldn't be here. This fraction shouldn't be here. What should be here? You're still going to do grid measurements. You're just going to do it from step 6. So step 6 is where I took my scale factor. It's where I took the 1/2 inch box, multiplied times my scale factor, got 3/4, all that stuff. It says here, don't turn fractions into decimals. Go ahead and cross that out. What you are going to write in, so you've crossed it out. You're on the wrong page. We're on the page 4. You're going to cross it out. I'll keep saying until all of you do it. You're going to cross this out. Going to cross this out. Okay, what you will do is answer as a mixed fraction, improper fraction, and a decimal. So you'll answer as a mixed fraction, an improper fraction, and a decimal. Okay, so when you go to find your new grid measurements for your bigger grid, leave it as a mixed number, improper fraction, and a decimal. The overall measurements, you'll do the same. You're going to take the length of a comic and put it over the width of the comic. You're talking about in inches. Remember when that's not my comic. Wherever it is. You'll measure it, okay? You'll put the length over the width and set it equal to the length over the width. It says that the graphed paper, I was going to have you try graph paper, but then when I did it, there was just there were all of these lines, and then there were like a bunch of graphing lines. There were just too many lines. So I didn't do graph paper. So it's of the big picture, but if you know what graph paper means, it's the smaller picture and bigger picture. That's all you're doing. The smaller comic equal to the larger comic. And then you're going to do the rest. It does say, if you read up here, yes, I am grading your language skills. Use proper grammar, sentence structure, capitalization, and geometric vocabulary. You do not say BC. You don't say and, like either of these. You don't say similar. You don't use abbreviations. You don't put prop for proportion. None of that. You write like you're writing in a paper. B, you're going to respond to a paragraph reflecting scale factor and its use to create the scale drawing. You can mention things about proportions and how your picture turned out proportional. And in part C, you're going to answer, if given this project again, what would you do differently? And what advice would you give students in the future regarding this project? Okay? The last thing, you want to do it on the same day, and it's called a peer evaluation. The goal of the peer evaluation, and the goal of doing it on Thursday, Javon, we've written down Thursday, the 4th, the goal is that they evaluate it the day before it's due so that you can fix something before you turn it in completely. Okay? So, no one can use a duplicate peer evaluator. Everyone evaluates one peer. So just because, who's the fastest worker? Just because Zach finishes his first, he's not evaluating all of your papers. He evaluates just the one. Just using your name as an example. Okay? So that's it. The assessment, just meeting these basic requirements will get you a 95. To get a 95 and above, you need to show additional effort and great detail. In your project, you're going to have the original comic. You'll paper clip it to the project. You'll ask me for the paper clip. You're going to have a colored enlarged photo. It says on graph paper. Again, it's going to be on computer paper. The measurements of the original picture are on the back of the comic, like the instructions said. And then your reflection and your peer evaluated form are stapled to the back of your project. Okay? So, what you're going to do today, you're going to, in a second, you'll put on your mask and you'll pick a comic. I will show you some of the options. Some of these are not an option because they were too simple. I will show you which ones are. The Monday one is an option. This is the cat and dog one. It's on the table in front of Mackay. This one, the Is Winter Over Yet, that one is available. The first, and I think the last one is available on this comic. I think all of these are available. Not that one. I've already addressed it. This is not about your drawing skills. It is about your proportion skills. So relax. As long as you can you're doing one box at a time. You're not drawing someone's face all together. In a box, if you remember, okay, look at her face. It is in 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. So you would have taken the time to, maybe do her eye, like the one with her, sorry, I'm recording. Maybe do like this part, and then this part, and then this part, and then you would fill in okay, it's not all at once. You will be okay. I do not want to hear another thing about having to draw. You will be okay. Okay, we got this one. He's lost a little bit of weight, hasn't he? And you have gill breath. And it says, they say as you grow older, your ears and your nose continue to grow. Well, let's not grow old. Deal. The only one available is to keep off the grass. This is the cake one that you've seen. Are you done licking the bowl? Well, these things take time. This one's about standing on its tail, I think. A superhero one. The best thing about nature is that it's everywhere, like under your shoe. It's a Snoopy. Some of these are not available. This one with all the numbers is too much. I will say what you are required to do. You are required to write in the font that you see. So you can't just write in Trayon's handwriting or you can't write in your own handwriting. You've got to write in theirs. But what you don't have to do, if you see this number, that's the date of the comic, and this is the signature. You don't have to transfer those type of things. There's also some that have like a copyright. We don't have time for that. It's not happening. Okay, we've got the football one, but not this one, and not that one. But yes, this one. Some Snoopy, some cute stuff. Is sleeping all you ever think about? You know, only when I'm awake. And then this one. Okay? So, what you're going to do is you're going to put on your mask, and you're going to come and pick a cartoon. Snoopy, Cat and Dog, the dinosaur, and then Garfield. Okay? Cut it out. The scissors are up here.